right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. It's been pretty fun doing this second world's most exciting classroom each week ever since we arrived in New Zealand waters, traveled through Australia, and then as we've crossed the Pacific, we've been having these events each week. So I think if I think back now, I think we're on our 74th live event for classrooms in North America and the UK. And this is our 11th event for classrooms in Australia, New Zealand, and surrounding areas. And we're going to continue weekly until the Oosterschelde returns to Falmouth, which will be July of 2025. So we'll talk a little bit more about where the ship and the team are right now. But we will do that in a little bit. First, though, we're going to bring in one of our Darwin leaders. So just a reminder, in each of the ports we visit, we have young Darwin leaders come and join us. These leaders are exciting youth who've shown an interest in conservation. Some of them started their own organizations. And we bring them to the ports. We match them up with a local conservation organization. They get out in the field. There's a camera operator with them as well. They learn about the issue, think about solutions, and then they create 3 pieces of media that can be then shared afterwards, shared via socials. And then hopefully those young leaders go back to their countries and go on to exciting careers, inspiring youth, working in conservation, and things like that. So joining us today, we're going to have Alexa Hibertidou join us. She is joining us from New Zealand. She's the founder and CEO of Girl Boss New Zealand. She's was named to the Forbes 30 Under 30. She's also a pretty sought-after speaker, having spoken to more than 80,000 people around the world. And we were lucky enough to have her as one of our Darwin leaders when we were in Fiji. So let's get Alexa in here right now. Hey, Alexa.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Kia ora, talo flava, and warm Pacific greetings. It is absolutely fantastic to be with you all today.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you with us. We want to kind of dial in a little bit on your experiences with the DARWIN200. And then I think we'll spend a little time talking about some of the other things you do, particularly Girl Boss NZ, which is pretty cool. And yeah, a lot of, I think, students tuning in probably get a little nervous about public speaking, but it sounds like that's something that you're pretty comfortable doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It is fantastic to be here and to share the incredible work of the DARWIN200 community.
Perfect. So let's get started. You were with us in Fiji. Can you tell us a little bit about the project that you worked with?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so special to be a Darwin leader in Fiji. I'm part Samoan, part Greek, part Samoan, but based in New Zealand. So to go to Fiji, which is also within the Pacific, was really special, and to be reconnected back to my ancestral Pacifica community. And my focus was really on sharing the Pacifica stories. And we did that in partnership with an organization called Nature Fiji, which is a local NGO based in Fiji. And our focus was on raising awareness of a little cicada, or what they call it in Fiji. It's called the Nanai. And this cicada is featured on the Fiji $100 bill. But what we found was when we went out to the community, and I would literally talk to people, like even if I was in the taxi from the airport, and I would ask them, I would show them this $100 bill, which had this little cicada on it. I said, do you know what this is? They would literally be like, is it a cockroach? I don't know what this bug is. So it's a really important and special insect for a lot of reasons. And so we really wanted to raise awareness about this, because I think so often we might see sort of animals on our money or in other sort of, or in different sort of places, but we don't know really the significance of it. So that was a huge part of this campaign, was raising awareness around what is that little bug on the $100 bill and why is it so important. Also, what's really special about this insect is that 2025 is the year of the Nanai, which is the year the Nanai rises out of the ground. And we'll play a video where you can learn about a little bit more about this. So we really wanted to build this hype and this excitement for 2025, which is what we aim to do in this video.
Okay. Just before we play that, the Nanai is a cicada species. So some of the students might be familiar with it. They have a pretty interesting life cycle, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's really exciting is that they spend a lot of time in the ground, and then they only rise from the ground for 2 weeks. And it was really amazing because we saw that there was so many incredible stories when we asked the elders in the Vivaletu Hills of Fiji, where they would say, we actually knew, reflecting back on our childhood, that the year that the Nanai rises would be a really special and important year, and it would be a year of good luck or abundance. And when we were trying to break down, where does this come from, this idea that the year the Nanai rises is a year of abundance, we found that that belief came from the fact that they would rise up from the ground, and then when the Nanai fly around and then they mate and then they die, they would die in the water. And what happened was suddenly all the fish in the rivers would get all of these little cicadas. So they'd basically get like free breakfast, lunch, and dinner just landing dead in the water. And so that would make the fish bigger and slower and easier to catch. So the idea that the year of the Nanai was a year of abundance or a year of good luck actually had a sort of a real story behind it, which we were able to uncover, which was pretty special and pretty cool.
All right. Well, let's take a look at your first video and then we'll continue from there. So bear with me for a moment while it loads on my end. Let's make sure I picked the right one too. That's pretty important. And there it is. It should be coming up right about now.
I bet you know what this is. It's a Fijian $100 bill. But who's this little guy?
A cockroach? A beetle? No, a nanai.
This is the Nanai. It's on the Fijian $100 note because this little bug is kind of a big deal. The Nanai, or the Fijian cicada, spends most of its life underground. Once every 8 years, something magical happens. The Nanai rises from the earth, sheds its shell, and reveals delicate wings. For just a few short weeks, it sings a song of love, calling out for a mate. So why is the Nanai on the Fijian $100 bill? To find out, let's learn the legend of the Nanai. Born from the Boronitu and Noimalu clans in the highlands of Viti-Levu in Fiji, the legend states that the year the Nanai emerges is a year of peace and abundance. 2025 is the year of the Nanai. It's re-emerging after 8 years. It represents rebirth and is a unique opportunity for you to shed the old and step into the new. Because 2025 is the year you make it happen. So we want to know, what's your dream for the year of the Nanai?
I want to become a certified plumber.
I want to become a professional rugby player.
Whatever your dream is, we want to see you bring it to life. Post it and use the hashtag Year of the Nanai.
All right. Very cool. It was a great video. Nice and catchy. Some great music. Yeah, lots of fun. And then, you know, this is the year. So the year of peace, the year of plenty. Now, I'm wondering, you know, do they have expectations for what it's like? Have things been changing with climate change? Are they expecting a lot to come out? Is it a mystery? What are they thinking is going to happen this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we want to do with this campaign is really raise awareness about the Nanai. And one of the ways in which we did that was we wanted to really emphasize that cultural significance, because we can only protect what we truly love and what we truly know. And I think so often when we look at the animals that get the most protection, they are things like the panda in China, or the eagle in America, or something which is really closely connected to the culture of the people. And so when we want to boost and encourage people to really value an animal, one of the best ways we can do it, this was my thought process, is by really emphasizing that cultural piece there so that people can really feel that emotional connection to it. And that was something that I was really deliberate about emphasizing when creating the video. And another thing I was really passionate about was making it super accessible. I think it's so important that when we're communicating about science to others, we do it in a way that's really engaging, that has a fun call to action, that is something that you can really relate to as a young person. And that's why we've got like some funny music in there and all sorts of random things, which was definitely a bit different to some other Darwin Leaders videos who were a little bit more formal. But I really wanted to reach out to the community and say, look, this is your story by the community for the community, and really tap into that emotional connection. And that's super important because we know that in the Viva Little Hills of Fiji, where the Nanai resides, it's currently at risk of a lot of deforestation. And we know that is the loss of the Nanai's home. And because they only come out once every 8 years, it actually can be very difficult to track that exact impact. So that's why we really want to draw attention and help people feel that emotional connection so that they don't loan off their land to corporations, which is what's happening at the moment.
Yeah. Well, let's talk for a moment about your time in Fiji. Was this your first time in Fiji? And what was it like to get out and spend some time in the community?
I love Fiji. I've been many times before. I think that might have been like my 4th time that year to Fiji. I'm actually off to Fiji again in a couple of weeks. So beautiful place. Put it on your bucket list, people. If you have not been to Fiji, that needs to be top of the list. But it's something that is just a place unlike anywhere else in terms of the most beautiful water, the most beautiful food, culture, energy, vibe. I was so delighted. I'm going to be honest with you, when I got told that my port was going to be Fiji, I was like, cracked it. Could not be a more beautiful place to be based. So yeah, it's a place really special and important to me, also being Samoan as well, to be in really what is considered the home of the Pacific.
All right. And then let's talk about Girl Boss. So maybe tell our students a little bit about it and how you came to found an organization.
Absolutely. So I started Girl Boss New Zealand, which is an organization for young women in high school who are passionate about STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, maths, leadership, and entrepreneurship. And I was spurred to start this at 16 as a result of my own experiences, because at my co-ed high school, I was the only girl in my school's digital technology class, and later the only girl in my advanced physics class. And I'll go to coding competitions and science competitions and regularly be one of 2-3 young women in the room. And I remember sitting there as a 16-year-old and feeling really isolated and alone. And I thought, someone's really got to do something about this. And then I thought, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And so at 16, I started Girl Boss New Zealand, which is now grown to be New Zealand's largest organization for young women, where we work with roughly 1 in 7 of all high school age young women across the country each and every year. And it's pretty amazing because I just started that when I was in school, and now it's my full-time job. And I get to work with young women, not just here in New Zealand, but also across Australia and the Pacific Islands. So really, really amazing journey. And I really encourage anyone out there, if you've got a passion or you've got an idea, to realize that you can actually execute on that idea and start today. I think so often we see the problems in the world around us and we feel helpless to solve them. But if you're someone out there who can identify a problem, then you are the best equipped person to actually go out there and solve that problem. And you don't need to wait until you reach a certain milestone. You don't need to wait until you finish high school. You don't need to wait until you get a university degree. You don't even need to wait until you get permission from somebody else. You can grant yourself that permission and you can actually step up and solve it today. So I really encourage any young person out there with an idea to feel really compelled to execute on that idea.
All right. And we've already got some questions coming in here. And so the first one is, what was maybe the most challenging thing about starting your own organization?
That is such a great question. Thank you so much for sending that through. So the most challenging part of starting my own organization was actually navigating my own feelings of self-doubt or imposter syndrome. Some of you may have heard this term imposter syndrome before, but that's basically where we feel like we're not worthy or we're not qualified to actually go out there and do what we want to do. And I remember sitting there as a 16-year-old and thinking, who am I to be the person to say, I want to make a difference? There's so many more people out there who may be more qualified, more intelligent, better looking, more popular. But the reality is, if you are someone that has the drive to solve the problem, you can be the one to step up and solve it. And I think having to make that really conscious decision to say, you know what? Maybe I'm not the most qualified person. Maybe I'm not the most experienced person, but I actually have passion. And if you've got passion and you've got energy, then actually everything else you can learn along the way. And actually by just bringing your passion and your energy, you can go a really long way. So I really encourage you to make sure that you're not being the barrier that's holding yourself back.
All right. Okay, so Jasmine is in South Australia, and she's wondering, when the Nanai are underground, are they in a cocoon?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've actually got some good photos of the Nanai life cycle, but what we see is that they are in 3 major life stages. So they're an egg, they're a nymph, and they're an adult. But the one where they're underground is when they're a nymph, and that's the longest life stage. So they are like a little tiny little maggoty looking thing. I don't know if you've ever seen a maggot, but it kind of looks like a maggot. So not the cutest animal, to be honest with you. And then they actually come out and they emerge from their shell. So that is kind of what they look like when they're underground, which is quite funny. And you may have seen those cicada shells around no matter where you are in the world. So feel free to let me know in the comments if you've ever seen cicada shells on trees or in your backyard.
Yeah. Hunter would like to know what they eat. Do the Nanai eat anything when they come out?
Yes. So they actually, when they are in the nymph stage, that is when they feed on root sap and nutrients whilst being underground. And that's why soil quality is so important to the Nanai. So they're literally just eating dirt, Hunter. That is what they are eating, but root sap and just all sorts of tiny little things that are in the ground of the earth. So it's just so amazing that something that we might not even consider, like the sap of a tree or the nutrients in the soil, is actually so important to the wider ecosystem. And that's why it's so important that we don't drop rubbish on the ground, we don't pour chemicals on the ground and things like that, because every single part of our planet, every single part of our world plays such an important role. Even the sap from a tree is the entire food system for these little maggot-looking cicada things under the ground.
All right. Sarah's in Sydney and would like to know, when you go back this year, do you think you'll see any Nanai?
That's actually such a great question, Sarah. I would love to. I was thinking that because I'm going for an event not to do with the Nanai. I'm actually going for a conference. But I was thinking, I think I might need to make a bit of a trip up. Now, here's a little bit of the funny thing about the Nanai. It's not in the most convenient location to get to. So when we would drive out to where the Nanai are, you have to sit in the car for 2 hours and you go on these crazy roads that aren't even real roads. And you go all the way up right into the hills. So I would love to make that happen. So I'm just trying to see, because it is not the easiest place or the easiest insect to find, because they are well hidden in these particular hills in Fiji. But I would love to to see the Nanai. That would be quite special. And that's actually also what made this video quite challenging, because I think I might be one of the only Darwin leaders who got assigned an animal to do a video about that I was not able to see, because the Nanai was currently under the ground when I was doing the video. So I got to see little skeletons of the Nanai, or like the Nanai from previous years, 8 years ago, that had been saved in little vials, but I never actually got to see a Nanai. So I think I'm probably the only person who's done a film about something that they haven't actually seen. So yes, I would love to go and actually see this Nanai for the first time, which would be great.
All right. So Eddie and Annabelle are curious. We know they live underground for 8 years. Do you know how long they're above ground?
2
I imagine
weeks.
it's probably pretty short.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So imagine growing for 8 years, team, to then be out of the ground for 2 weeks, and then you die. They just rise up, then they mate, and they die. So they have a lot of hype for what is a very short amount of time actually flying around, which is kind of random. So yes.
Yeah. So Jack is wondering, I mean, we don't know how many are going to emerge this year, but historically, what are kind of the numbers for how many will come out from underground?
So this is the really interesting thing about this Nanai, and why we're trying to raise awareness, is that hasn't been tracked yet. So the goal of this campaign in 2025 is that we try and get some measures of this Nanai and how we track it. And so they're asking people, if you see a Nanai, take a photo of it and post it and let us know, because we don't even exactly know where exactly the Nanais are, how many they are. We really know nothing about this little special cicada. And so we need to raise awareness so that way people know. And so even trying to figure out information about the Nanai, we're going back and asking people's grandparents and saying, hey, how many years have you seen the Nanai for? And do you think that there's less of them as you've got older? And they're going, yeah, I think there's less of them. And that's kind of how we're tracking that we think they're reducing. But as you can imagine, just asking someone's granddad, hey, is there less Nanai than before, just based on what you see flying around, is not the best scientific process. So we are trying to formalize that process so that we can actually give you an answer, Jack, to what is a very good question.
All right. One more for you. This one's from Isaac. How big is Girl Boss NZ?
That is such a great question. Thank you so much, Isaac. So we have been going for 10 years now. So it's my full-time job. And we've had over 100,000 young women through our programs over 10 years. Currently, we've got 17,500 members enrolled in Girl Boss, which is pretty exciting. So really cool to go from a place where I felt like I was the only girl or the only person in my school passionate about this, to now working with thousands of young people across Australia, across New Zealand, across the Pacific, who share this passion. So really amazing to create that community. Thank you, Isaac.
All right. Well, Alexia, we are obviously so thrilled to have you as a Darwin leader. It was fun to get to interview you on the ship while you were in Fiji. That was months and months ago now. And your story, I think, is so important for students to hear, is they don't have to wait. If they're passionate about something, excited about something, they can get started now. There's no harm in putting yourself out there and trying something new, and who knows what could happen. You are a great example of what can happen when you take a chance and you do something you're passionate about.
Absolutely. And I really encourage each and every person listening now to, stay curious, keep exploring, and to realize you already have everything within you to go out there and make a difference. So I'm so excited to follow your journeys and see the impact you make. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
All right, Alexia, thanks again. It was great to have you with us, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, team. Bye.
Thanks, Alexia. See ya. Okay, very cool. I always love when we get to catch up with the Darwin Leader. It's so exciting to hear all their stories from all over the world. We will be arriving, well, we're actually in the Falklands right now, and we're leaving shortly. We're just there for a few days, just getting some resupply after crossing the Pacific Ocean. So no Darwin leaders in the Falklands this time. This is actually our second time in the Falklands. And the first time we did have Darwin leaders. And then we're going to head across the the Atlantic Ocean this time. And we're going to be in Cape Town, where we'll have a whole bunch of Darwin leaders from around Africa come and join us in Cape Town. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll get to meet a lot of those young Darwin leaders who are all very excited and passionate about youth, about conservation. And yeah, we can't wait to get them on board and to get them out into the field. Okay, let's get right into it. We have to do our experiment. So 2 weeks ago, we had an experiment. We were looking at natural selection. So let's take a look at the results video, and then we'll see who sent in some great responses for us. So just bear with me for a moment while my video loads up, and then we will take a look at this results video together. Here we go.
Welcome back. 2 weeks ago, I posed the question to you of why the Darwin finches have different shaped beaks and what evolutionary processes have driven the difference in beak shape. Well, let's find out the answer. Imagine you're a bird. Obviously, you don't have hands to eat your food with. So how would you eat different seeds and nuts and insects in the diet of most of the Darwin finches? Well, some of the islands of the Galapagos have large nuts. This is quite difficult to break open, so you'd need something powerful to crack the nut, like a nutcracker. Let's have a look. Oh, yep, that breaks apart pretty easily with a nutcracker, but I couldn't do that with my hands. So clearly, you'd need a very powerful beak to open big nuts like that walnut. But what about smaller nuts? Look at these ones here. A nutcracker is no good for these tiny little nuts. It can't even pick them up. And even if it can, it would just squish them. So that's clearly not going to help. But a smaller pair of tweezers is perfect for the job. Look, with a smaller tweezer-like beak, you could easily pick up a smaller nut like that. A lot of the Darwin finches also eat squishy invertebrates, bugs. Neither the nutcracker nor the sharp tweezers would work so well on bugs because they'd just burst or get squished. But a sharp piercing beak would be just right for stabbing them to pick them up and eat them. In the instruction PDF, there were 3 examples of different species of Darwin finches, each illustrated to show their beak shape. Which species do you think relates to each of these 3 examples? Well, let's find out. The large ground finch has a really powerful beak, and this is perfect for breaking open large nuts and hard seeds. The small ground finch has a smaller beak, similar to the tweezers, and this is perfect for breaking open and picking up smaller nuts and seeds. The sharp-beaked ground finch has a much narrower, sharper beak, as its name suggests, and this is perfect for picking up those little invertebrates and squishy bugs. Did you guess correctly? Let's find out who the winners are of the 3 £50 Amazon vouchers.
All right, so very cool experiment, a fun way to think about natural selection. Let me share my screen here really quickly. I just have to open the right file. There we go. And let's share a window. And this is the window I want. So I want to give a shout out to our school in South Australia, Naracoorte. They sent in some great photos in action here. So they did some research. They noticed their beaks were different sizes. They noticed the big fat ones. They noticed the narrow beaks. I love how they shared some of their interesting findings. I love these pictures here where it shows them doing a little bit of research, talking about the woodpecker finch here and how it uses twigs or cactus spines to spear the bugs. So that's pretty darn cool. There's an animal using tools. We used to think humans were the only animals that use tools, and we know that is absolutely not true. So a big shout out to our school in South Australia, and we will get an Amazon gift card emailed your way. So thank you so much for sending that in. And of course, we need to look at a new experiment. Remember, you still have 1 week to try our pitfall experiment from last week and send us in some photos and some examples. But we need a brand new experiment that we can start working 2 weeks on. And this one's kind of a fun demonstration. This is one I did in my office a while back for an earlier World's Most Exciting Classroom. And I think you'll get a kick out of this one too. So let me share my screen and let's take a look at this week's experiment that we have coming your way. Last thing we need to do today before we look at our curiosity is a very quick experiment for you to try in your classroom. I did mention that I'm going to do it live here. It is a pretty quick and easy experiment, so let's get it going. Very easy supplies. You need something glass, like a glass pan works really well. Some plates are made of glass, so that could be a good choice. You need a cup of water, which I have right here. And then you are also going to need some dry erase markers. Really important you use dry erase markers. Don't use permanent markers. The experiment won't work. And also you'll have permanent marker on your plate. So dry erase markers are really important. I have a second camera here. I'm going to switch to my second camera. Here we go. Perfect. So you should see my second camera come online now. I'm going to make that full screen. There we go. So you can kind of see this desktop view that we're dealing with here. I am going to do this little experiment one-handed. So let's give it a try and see how it works out. You need to draw some designs on your glass plate. So the first one I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to do a stick figure. So I'm going to make sure I outline the stick figure nicely. Draw a nice body there, some feet. There we go. There's a stick figure. I've gone over it a couple times. I am going to grab green and we'll give that stick figure a partner here. So here we go. All right, we're doing this live, so hopefully it works out nicely for us. There we go. And then maybe the last thing I'll do in red, I'm not a great artist, so bear with me. I'm going to draw a little mini Oosterschelde. So here we go. There's the ship. Important that I include 3 masts because it's a 3-masted ship. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll put some really bad looking little sails here on top. There we go. So what am I going to do now? I am going to take some water. Let's get the camera view adjusted. And I'm going to slowly pour it into this glass dish. Not too quickly. Slowly add this water in. You might see something starting to happen here with our drawings. All right, there we go. You saw that I just made those drawings and they are now no longer attached to the bottom of the pan. The Oosterschelde has set sail. My stick figures are on the move. What in the world is happening here? Very, very cool. So this is our experiment for the next 2 weeks. I want you guys to try this in the classroom. You can rewatch this video if you need what you need to make this happen again. There we go. Let's move them around a little bit more. There goes the Oosterschelde. You need the dry erase markers, some water. You need glass. And then there you go. The stick figures, the Oosterschelde, have been set free and they're on the move. So try this in your classroom. Try this at home. Take a video, take some pictures, send it to classroom@darwin200.com. Send those pictures because each week, after each experiment, when we get results, we send 3 Amazon gift cards to students who try this experiment or classrooms that try this experiment. So try this at home. You have 2 weeks to give it a try. Try it in the classroom. We will have a video in 2 weeks, and we will learn why this happened. How our Oosterschelde, how our stick figures were able to kind of take off and move around like this. So there we go. Okay, so there's your experiment. It's a pretty fun demonstration to try in the classroom. You don't need a whole lot to do it. We want to see some pictures or a video clip of your class giving it a try, or maybe you trying it at home. And then you need to think and answer the question the best you can. Why do you think that happened? Why do you think when the water interacted with those dry erase markers that our drawings started to float and move around? So what do you think was happening? Was there some kind of reaction? Why did that happen? That's your challenge. Give that experiment a try and think about what was going on with water and those dry erase markers. So classroom@darwin200.com. We'll put that up on the screen, classroom@darwin200.com. 2 weeks to give that a try in your classrooms. So I said I would talk a little bit more about where the Darwin 200 team is right now, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's get the map up here. And I think when we connected last week, we were probably somewhere up here. We were really close to the Falkland Islands. I think we were kind of coming on this home stretch to the islands. If we back it out a little bit, you can see the massive amount of Pacific Ocean that we have left behind. And this is where we've been the last week or so, is here on the Falklands. The Falklands are incredible islands. I think about 3,000 people live in the Falklands. They are barren. They are windswept islands, very remote and rugged, but they are home to an incredible amount of life, from elephant seals to multiple species of penguins, different bird species. There's whales and dolphins in the waters around the islands. No shortage of seabirds. So there's a lot of life in the Falklands. Even though it may look kind of barren and remote and rugged, there is still a lot of life supported there. We are going to get to see a little bit of that in a clip shortly. I caught up with Tom and Mara, who we followed for 7 weeks as they made their way across the Pacific Ocean. And I caught up with them about 2 days after we had our last live event. And we recorded a short little event from the ship while they were in the Falklands. So we're going to play that now. You'll get to hear a little bit about their arrival, what it's like being in the Falklands. And then we've got a little clip Tom shared with me of some of the cool wildlife that they've encountered. So let's get that sharing right now. I'm going to stop this screen share, and I am going to change to our video, which is here. Let's get Tom, let's get Mara, let's get them in here live with us from the Falklands. Let me take away that screen share. Let's get them in here. Hey, Tom. Hey, Mara. How you doing?
Hello, Joe. We're all good. On dry land.
And we see land. We haven't seen that in quite some time. So I guess the first question is, when you stepped onto that land, how'd you feel?
Very weird.
Yeah.
A bit wobbly.
For sure. Bit hard to walk.
Yeah.
Seasickness continued, kind of, but on land.
Land sickness.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then the second burning question is, what was everybody so excited about?
Oh, in that video?
Yeah.
So that was when we crossed over 50 degrees south in the South Atlantic. And with that, we had officially completed our Cape Horn rounding. So that's why everyone was very, very excited.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, that is pretty big. I know you guys probably already got your tattoos in Stanley, but I won't ask to see them because I know they have to heal and stuff like that. So we'll give you some time. But yeah, amazing. And then, I've never been. The Falklands is a windswept kind of wild, rugged place. And Mara, I heard you were able to get out and see some penguins the other day.
Yes, I went yesterday and I saw some king penguins and Gen 2. And the king penguins had chicks as well, so they're really sweet. And I'd never seen penguins in the wild, so it was super exciting to get so close to them.
Yeah, a few more birds to add to the bird survey. Very cool. And then as you rounded the Horn and entered the Atlantic, did you tick off any new species besides the penguins?
There was a few ones we hadn't seen previously on the trip, but we did see them last year. So there's the imperial cormorants, which we did see, which is a video coming up later. You see them in. What else was there? I think the skewers. Skewers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely a different variety. I think it's more the proximity to land, but yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of birds, a lot more than we had been seeing.
So you have now 6 days, I think, in the midst of 6 or so days in harbor. So what's going on? What's going on to get the ship ready for the next crossing?
At the moment, they're just doing some maintenance. Everyone's kind of busy on board. Well, you can't see anyone at the moment. Celia's up in the mast.
Oh yeah.
Getting some work done, but yeah, there's a few.
We've been doing lots of cleaning. Yeah, those sort of things.
Restocking the ship with food. I think we pretty much emptied out all the food on the last leg, so.
Yeah, we're getting quite low. We were getting low at the end.
Oh, I can imagine so. You're probably getting some fresh stuff. You probably haven't had maybe fresh fruit and vegetables for a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of the first things we did. We went to the shop and bought some apples, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, very cool. What's Stanley like, compared to other places maybe you visited along the way, Tom?
It's definitely a rugged landscape around. I can probably pan around to the.
Sure.
This is what like the landscape of the Falklands kind of looks like. It's just this windswept landscape, I guess. And then on the other side is actually the Stanley town. Let's have a look. Very colourful houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a very small town.
Yeah, I imagine. But that's great.
People living in Stanley.
Oh, I lost you for a second, but you're back. I think you were just saying about how many people live in Stanley.
Yeah, I think it's about 2,000 or 3,000 in Stanley,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think 700 in the rest of the Falklands. So most of the people are in Stanley.
All right. Very cool. Well, let's take a look at some of that wildlife. Tom, you shared a clip with me with a little bit of Falklands wildlife. So let's take a little look at that clip. And then maybe we'll talk about last time you were in the Falklands. So just give me a second. Here it comes. And there it is.
There's the black-browed albatross.
I've seen a lot of those recently.
Keeping us company from, I don't know.
Really the whole trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely seen more of them the closer we got to the Falklands.
There's the Gentoo penguins.
Yeah, so lots of them yesterday. There were a lot of really young ones as well. They still had their fluff, part of the fluff on them.
These are the big elephant seals. We haven't actually seen these yet.
There was one yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And these are enormous. I can't remember the size or weight of them, but yeah.
They're big.
These are the Falkland steamer ducks, or flightless ducks.
Yep, saw a couple of those when we were coming in.
And this is a very inquisitive skua. These are known for being very boisterous and hitting people in the head. So,
Awesome. And so, Tom, last time, it seems like forever ago, the ship visited the Falklands. Were you out with one of the Darwin leaders that time around?
Yeah. We were doing. We had a couple projects in the Falklands. One was on the sooty shearwaters, and then the other one was one about the bird flu, I believe. I think that's what it was. So yeah, we were going between the islands and getting some shots, and yeah, very interesting.
And then Mara, have you collected a eDNA sample for us from the Falklands?
Not yet, actually. I should probably do that. I got one just before we sort of turned in, so quite close to the Falklands.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe I'll take another one.
Cool. Yeah, I'm sure that Eric would be happy about that. Very cool. Okay, well, let's grab a couple questions from the chat before we let you go for today. So if you're tuning in, don't be shy. Put in a few questions for us. But let's start out with one for you, Mara. So you kind of came on here with short notice. Maybe didn't know what to expect. You crossed the Pacific. How you feeling now that you have that under the belt?
How am I feeling now?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. It's been such an incredible experience. I didn't really know what to expect, so I don't really know if it's met my expectations. I think, in some ways, yes. It's definitely very unique. I'm really glad I did it. Very nice to be back on land now too. Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible.
Okay, and Tom, you have a monstrous task ahead of you. You've got to create a summary video for the leg of this journey. How far into that are you?
Sorry, you just cut off a bit there, Joe.
Oh, I was just saying you've got a monstrous task ahead of you. You've got to create the summary video for this leg. I was wondering how far along you are in that process.
Well, the footage is all organised, but that's my task over the next few days, just to put that together. So hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be up online for everyone to watch.
Great. Quick question here online. Wondering, are there any trees? Have you seen any trees on Falklands?
A couple.
There are,
but
a
not
few
very
trees.
many. Yeah.
Not.
Most of the landscape is very open, just sort of scrub land. Yeah, there's a few trees here in Stanley, but sort of on the open countryside, I haven't really seen any.
All right. Miss Lightbourne's crew is hanging out with us, and they want to know if it was really windy when you crossed the horn, when you rounded the horn.
It wasn't actually so bad. There was a good amount of wind, but the Horn is notorious for being crazy weather, massive stormy wind and waves. But we didn't have it too bad, which was nice because then we got the chance to actually get up close and see it rather than being miles and miles out to sea.
It's a good amount of wind because we were sailing at a good speed, but everyone was able to come up on deck and actually enjoy going past the Horn.
Yeah.
I think 20, 30 kilometers of wind.
Yeah. What about the temperature? The class is wondering, was it really cold?
It was quite chilly.
Yeah.
Everyone was in their waterproof, windproof coats. Yeah.
It's all pretty relative though, because
12 degrees. Yeah, the wind just makes it feel colder as well.
Sure. And the weather, it's cloudy right now, overcast. Is that pretty standard for what you've been experiencing so far? Or have you had a little bit of sun down there?
Yeah, it was really sunny yesterday. Yesterday was really nice. But when we first arrived, it was quite grey and there was a bit of a drizzle. And then the second day was quite rainy as well. So we've had a bit of everything. I think this sort of weather is quite normal for Falklands. I think usually it's just very windy. It doesn't actually rain that much. So we've been a little bit unlucky so far. But yeah, it's looking like it's getting a little bit better now.
All right. And what's the plan? What's the schedule for setting sail next? How many days you have?
I think the next guests will get on the 25th and then set sail the next morning, I guess, on the way to Cape Town.
All right. And then Josh, I think, is taking over for that leg, which will be pretty fun. Yeah. Okay, very cool. Well, I think the way to end it off would just be, this leg, I think, was always starred on the journey for various reasons. It was going to be long. The Roaring 40s, the Furious 50s are notorious for some crazy weather. I'm sure you guys had an image of it built up in your head, what it was going to be like. Maybe there was some nerves. So all said and done, was it what you anticipated? Did it feel maybe a bit easier? What was it like for you guys?
I mean, I think we got a fair share of expectations, to be honest. We knew it was going to be rough, and we definitely got the roughness.
Definitely got that.
But
I think I actually expected it to be like that for longer.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we only had one big storm for a couple of days, and apart from that, it was actually tamer than I was expecting. Mm-hmm. And we also had a few days sometimes we had no wind and we were just floating. So yeah, a bit of everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, you did it. You crossed the Pacific. You rounded the Horn. Pretty amazing. You're in the Falklands now. With a few days to hang out, which isn't too shabby. If you get bored, no pressure, but it might be kind of cool to throw the ROV in the water if you're bored and see what's maybe there's something interesting down there. I don't think we've had it in the water since probably Sydney, because you guys have been moving and booking along. Awesome. Well, Tom and Mara, thank you so much for taking us across the Pacific with you over the last 7 weeks through our kind of mashup of pre-records till we could finally get you guys live again. It's been fun to live the experience through your eyes and get those treats along the way, like the beaked whales and stuff like that.
Awesome. No worries at all. We had a great time.
All right. Well, have fun in the Falklands. I hope you can get a flight out at some stage. And Mara, it was great to meet you. And Tom, I think we'll probably see you in Cape Town.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
See ya. Okay, so Tom is on a well-deserved break now after 7 weeks crossing the Pacific. He will rejoin the ship when we're in Cape Town in South Africa. Josh is on board now. I think you guys will probably remember Josh from earlier when we were around New Zealand, when we were around Australia. Josh was the camera operator on board, so he'll be with us as we head through the Atlantic Ocean. So first stop will be South Georgia. With any luck, there will be a ton of penguins and other cool life there. We'll then try to stop at Tristan da Cunha, which is the most remote populated island on the planet. There's only a few hundred people that live there, but it is very hard to stop there with a ship. The conditions are often very, very rough, so we only have one chance. If we arrive and it's not possible to stop and launch a small boat, then we won't be able to stop. We'll have to keep sailing. And then early April, we will be in Cape Town. I'm going to join the ship in Cape Town, and we're going to have a bunch of fun live content from the field in Cape Town, in Africa, maybe some dives, maybe some sharks, maybe some ostriches and other cool things in the field. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get up to. So the last thing we have to do today, we have a curiosity of the week to look at the answer. Then we have a brand new curiosity for this week. So before I go too far, Sid had a question in the chat about penguins in the Falklands. There are roughly 1 million penguins living in the Falkland Islands, and there are 5 species that breed there. So there's 18 species of penguins in the world. 5 species might not seem like a lot, but to put that in perspective, there's only 4 species that call Antarctica home. So there's actually more species in the Falkland Islands that call it home than actually in Antarctica. So 5 breeding species. There's the Gentoo penguin, the king penguin, the Magellanic penguin, the macaroni, and the rockhopper. So it's one of the best spots to go and see penguins doing their thing, the Falkland Islands. Okay, here we go. Let's go for our video of the answer to last week's curiosity. Whoops, I clicked the wrong one. Let's try that one more time, and that should work. Here we go.
Back, everyone. Could you guess the identity of last week's curiosity? This strange object here with this incredibly intricate structure? Well, it's actually a species of deep-sea sponge. It grows at about 500 meters down in the water. It's called a Venus's flower basket sponge. And this structure is basically the skeleton of the sponge. Sponges are actually a type of animal, and they filter feed the water. But this one has a very special story. It rattles. There's something very small inside. As this species of sponge grows, it often imprisons shrimps. The shrimps spend their entire lives inside the sponge, and they have a special mutualistic relationship. The shrimp inside actually then cleans the sponge and takes away waste particles and food that the sponge traps, so it keeps the sponge clean. So if you guessed a Venus's flower basket sponge, you are absolutely correct. Well done for taking part, and let's see if you can identify the next curiosity of the week.
Okay, we had lots of good guesses. I don't think any classrooms got the exact species right, but lots of classrooms guessed sponges. So we picked a classroom for this week. Mr. Bradley's crew, they are 4th graders, and they are joining us from Perth in Australia. So we've got a gift card coming your way. It will come via email from Sophie, our social person in the UK. So the final thing for this week, we need to take a look at a brand new curiosity. And I just happen to have a video here ready to go. Let's take a look at the new curiosity before we say goodbye for this week.
Back, everyone. This week's curiosity is quite tricky. It's this object here. To be fair, I feel it's a little bit unfair to ask you to identify this one because this is quite tricky, so I'll give you a few clues. It is part of an animal, and it's part of an animal's mouth that's used for filtering. The animal has many, many plates like this. Can you guess what it is? It has long hair-like fibers along one side. I say this is quite a tricky curiosity this week, so send in your answers to classroom@darwin200.com. I'll be really interested to find out if you can identify this object. Join us in 1 week's time to find out the identity of this strange curiosity. Good luck.
All right. Well, Stu was definitely in a generous mood. He gave you some really good clues to be able to solve this week's curiosity. You have 1 week to send in some answers to classroom@darwin200.com. There's the email for you, classroom@darwin200.com. All right. We are landing this event with 1 minute to spare from this week's World's Most Exciting Classroom. Hopefully, coming up next week, we will have a live connection from the ship with Josh on board. What else are we going to get up to? We will probably have a look at the Peruvian Amazon, which is a place I got to spend some time before I sailed on the Oosterschelde. So we will, as always, have a new experiment. We'll have a curiosity of the week. Basically, we're going to be very busy for our hour together next Thursday at 9 o'clock Perth time, 12 p.m. Sydney. The last thing to do is a shout out to our sponsors, our supporters, our partners, without whom we wouldn't be having these World's Most Exciting Classroom events, wouldn't be sailing across the ocean, we wouldn't have researchers on board, and our young Darwin leaders wouldn't be joining us in the different ports to get conservation experience. So thank you to the classrooms who join us live. Thank you to those who will tune into the event later. Try the experiment, try the curiosity of the week. For now, though, we're going to say goodbye, and hopefully we see everybody next week. Thanks, everyone.